What's up, my friends? Welcome back to another Action After episode. And this week we're looking at Jan Broder's Action After episode, Action After item, which was, what does a successful life look like to you? What does a successful life look like to you? And as we break down this Action After this week, we're going to break it down into 3 Action After items so you can start executing on this and really building a life that, as Jan spoke about, doesn't just make you successful in life, but one of the major key things we talk about here is it allows you to build a life that you're happy with, that allows you to build a life where you are happy, and it allows you to build a life where you're fulfilled. And so the first Action After item is going to be very simple. I want you to get a page. Now, you know I'm someone that is a fan of old school handwriting. So if you have the possibility, if you can, write this down on your notes somewhere, right? Like get a notebook, rip a piece of paper out of something. If you can do that, if you can do it on your phone notes, you could do it there, or if you're a typer, you could do it there as well. If you can't write, that's also okay, but always understand that writing it will allow you to tap into some things in your subconscious brain, your unconscious brain, that can allow you to really dig a little bit deeper in your life. And so the first thing you want to do is you're going to write 1 page on asking yourself the question, what does a successful life look like to you? Now, you may be listening to this or watching this and you may go, I don't know what the heck a successful life looks like to me. But what I want you to begin to understand is, as you force yourself to write, if you ask yourself a question consistently enough, eventually your brain, the way that it is wired, will produce a result. Now, if that question is a little bit too ambiguous, I'll give you a couple different ways that you can look at it to kind of niche it down, right? One way you could ask yourself is, what does a successful life look like to you in your career? That's one place you can start. Another way is, what does a successful life look like to you in your relationship? What does a successful life look like to you in your health, right? And you can start to niche down to all of these things. And as you start to niche down into the little things, that obviously builds the big picture, right? But if you have clarity and you go, I know what a successful life looks like to me, you can start writing that and just write it in general. And the key here is, Jan talked about this in the episode, is that sometimes we build a life that is the definition of somebody else's success. And then we go, I'm going to do this thing because, truthfully, the real reason we're doing it is because we think it'll make us look successful. We think it'll make us, other people go, wow, look at what they're doing. But the reality is, if that's what we're building life for, when we get there, we may not be as happy and fulfilled because we were actually living somebody else's life. So as you dive into this, I really want you to ask yourself, put to the side somebody's opinion of you. Put aside the image that you would create in society. Put aside all of that and ask yourself, truly, what does a successful life look like to you? Right? Is it waking up and feeling energized? Is it doing a certain thing that you've always thought about doing, but you've never really taken action on it, right? Jan talked about, oftentimes in life, things pull at us. We get tugs. The universe or God or whatever you want to call it gives us signs. It's about listening to the signs when they show up, right? Jan said it so well. He says, we've kind of built a world where we go, well, yeah, I have anxiety at night and I need to have a drink just to lower that, but that's just normal. And Jan goes, that's not normal. That is not normal. That is a sign. But if you don't listen to the sign, you're going to continue to have anxiety. You're going to continue to have every night needing a drink to decompress because you've accepted that as normal, when the reality is that is not normal. So what may be happening is, maybe you're pursuing somebody else's definition of success and it's forcing you into those habits. So take a note, listen to what the world, the universe, your inner voice is telling you, and ask yourself, truly, what does success look like to you? Not to your mom, to your dad, to your best friend, to society, to the world. What does success look like to you? All right, that's going to be the first Action After item. And yes, I'm going to challenge you to write a full page on that. If you write a full page, you're going to come up with much more than you may think you could come up with. Some of you may go and write 3, 4, 5 pages, right? But the more clarity you get around this, clarity is power, right? Then we can start moving into that direction once we have clarity. So write a page on that. That's number one. Number two is go ask 3 people that you know, what is a successful life look like to them? And you can do this a couple different ways. One, you could just ask, I'm going to ask my best friend and my mom and my dad, right? And cool, you ask those people. Now, one way you could approach this is just ask anybody, simply listen to their perspective. Another way you could do this is ask yourself, who is someone that you envy in your life? And by envy, I mean someone that when you look at their life, you go, wow, that person really does seem happy. That person really does seem like they enjoy what they do. That person really does seem like they've built a life that they're excited about and they're enjoying this thing called life, not struggling through this thing called life. And if you can find someone like that in your life, what you can ask them is ask them, what is their definition of success? Because chances are if they're happy and fulfilled and doing something in their life that they love, they're successful, their definition of success is probably going to be very beneficial to you. Because if you follow and take notes from that, it may help you build a definition that really does support your life, does support the life that you want. So that's one way you could do it, is you could ask someone who you envy, someone that you go, wow, they live a pretty cool life and I wouldn't mind living a life like that, right? Ask them. Now, another way you could do this is someone once told me in life, they said, look at what everybody else is doing and do the exact opposite. And what they meant by that is that, unfortunately, a lot of people do go through life and they don't love what they do. A lot of people go through life and they struggle. They don't enjoy, they don't thrive. And so the other way you can go about asking someone else's question is find someone that doesn't have anything you want. Find someone that is living a life that when you look at it, you go, there's no way I want to live a life like that. And ask them, what is their definition of success? And as you ask them what their definition of success is, maybe you go back to the saying, you go look at what they're doing and just do the exact opposite, right? Truthfully, sometimes in learning what not to do, it is just as powerful in learning what to do. So maybe find someone that doesn't live a life that you'd want to live at all and ask them, what does success look like to them? All right. So those are a couple different ways you can just ask anybody, get perspective, ask someone you envy or you look at their life and say, man, that's a life I'd like to love, like to live, and ask them. Maybe ask someone that doesn't have the life. But those are a couple different ways. The challenge here, the action, is going to be go ask at least 3 people. And you can text them, you can voice note them, you can message them on Instagram if you don't even know them. You could hop on a phone call, you could send them an email. So many different ways you could do it, but at least ask 3 people, because if you ask 3, you're going to probably get at least 1 response. All right. And then the third action after item. And I love how Jan was saying, he's like, I'm a big fan of playing games, experimenting, just like kind of playing with life, really, at the end of the day is what he's talking about. And so what you're going to do here for the third action after item is to do something different that you've always done one way. Right? Again, the third action after item is, what is one thing that you always do the same way day in and day out, and I want you to do it a different way. Now, Jan gave a couple different examples. Maybe when you drive to work, you drive the same route every single day, drive a different way. Right? For me, for example, I have a morning routine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it, that morning routine. I'm just going to change it up, do something different, try it a different way, because what you're doing in this process of doing something different than the way that you always did it is you're challenging your brain to think differently. Right? Sometimes in life, like Jan said, we get stuck in a black and white. We do it this way or we don't do it this way. And that almost traps us sometimes in life. But if we can force ourselves to say, I'm going to do this a little different, or I'm going to try something a different way than what I always do, it forces us to tap into creative juices in our brain. It forces us to look at things differently. And when we look at things differently, things begin to change. Right? There's a saying that they say out in the world that says, when you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change. Right? When you change the way you look at the world you look at changes. So what you want to do is ask yourself, what's something you do always the same way every single time, and simply do it different. Challenge your brain to think a little bit differently. And as you do this, it can just begin to teach you a muscle that when you do things different, you think different ways, and then ultimately you can get different results, which helps you maybe create a life that you really want to live. All right. So that is going to be the 3 action after items for this week. Again, the action after is, what does a successful life look like to you? Number 1, write a page about it. Number 2, ask 3 people what is their definition of success. And number 3, go out there and do something different than the way that you always do it. What is something you always do the same way, and change it up, do it different, and challenge your brain to think a little bit different in a different way. So that is the action after item, my friends. Go execute, because you know that's the way that we build the life that you love. We gotta experiment. We gotta try. We gotta take action. We gotta do things in life. Action ends suffering. Action brings clarity. So go out there, execute, take action on this action after, and I will see you on the podcast. Talk to you on the podcast next week. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.